working with a very small timeline here, a very short timeline. Is there anything we can do on our end?
John had come into New York for a couple of meetings as Chief of Staff to Senator Eddie Oketch, a member of ALA's Inaugural Class, whose whole platform is youth-focused, as Eddie himself is one of Kenya's youngest senators.
John is probably the fellow that has been doing this for the longest time. He had been doing this even before we selected him as a fellow.
I was just having a phone call with Eddie about the situation in Kenya broadly and some big decisions that are coming up, mostly related to the unfolding crisis in Kenya with the protests. It's been 3 or so weeks of unrest in the country.
A group of protesters in Kenya have stormed the country's parliament. They are up in arms over the newly proposed finance bill.
The proposed bill, if signed into effect, would tax essential commodities in an already slow economy. Protesters, majority of whom were youth, took to the streets and eventually stormed the parliament to say no to the bill.
Eddie, along with his colleagues in the Senate, are thinking about how to respond to the crisis, but also how to be part of the solution as we enter into a critical phase here in the next few weeks when the country will have to decide who will take it forward and who will be at the table to solve some of these problems. And I guess this is critical because some of these questions are related to youth unemployment. They are related to opportunity for young people. They're related to a changing of the guard between the old and the new. They're related to how to live in this digital economy, how to prosper in an environment where opportunities are becoming narrower and narrower for young people. So he feels like he has to have a voice in that. And so that's what we were talking about. What I liked about Eddie is Eddie was always very organized and serious about what he was doing. He had a work ethic. He clearly cared about something. And then we just became good, like natural friends. Are you able to see me? No, not yet. No, I think the specific question, and Eddie can add on to this, is how do we leverage the current situation to press for...
This was John's second meeting of the day. Given his involvement in different projects in Kenya, outside of his role as Chief of Staff, John spends a lot of time taking meetings in corners of coffee shops with teams of collaborators across different time zones.
Go ahead. Eddie is more suited to economic planning, youth development, youth affairs. That would sort of be the natural fit for these two particular leaders in the ODM formation. That's how I would describe it, if I were to be very direct.
It's always refreshing to be on a call with him because he's constantly thinking about how to support his principal. In many ways, he is sort of like a big brother in the cohort that we have. He advises and he gives tips to the other fellows.
If you're one of the 21 people in the country running Kenya's economy, take that opportunity.
Like other Umholi Africa fellows, John seemed to find his work energizing. But how does one handle the pressure of establishing oneself in the United States while supporting a public servant whose work touches the grassroots in Kenya? In tumultuous times, how does one find grounding to do the much-needed work? How does one stay focused?
What sort of refocuses me on working with Eddie is It's the size of the vision. It's the trust he has in me to help execute on that vision. I also like ambiguity. I operate in that space. I love a good challenge. I don't particularly enjoy routine.
In seasons of collective uncertainty and mass outrage, public servants have the ability to bring about radical change, or their words and actions could compound the already existing issues. John believes that Eddie's voice counts now more than ever.
He has to have a voice in this moment, in large part because this is really what he campaigned on opportunity for young people, on bringing young people into the mainstream of decision making, getting them from the periphery into the rooms where national issues are tackled and discussed. And this is a youth-led movement. And being one of the youngest senators in Kenya, if not the youngest, he has a special place in how this can be moved forward, how these issues can be talked about, how we understand these issues is different across generations, and he brings that perspective that many of his colleagues can't right now.
I stand here as a young person disappointed that we got an opportunity as a Senate to pronounce ourselves to this matter, and we lost that opportunity.
Being a senator who is very often in the grassroots, he is closer to the problem than most are.
But Kenya is about 7,000 miles away from the east coast of the US, and with family obligations as well as goals and dreams outside of his governmental role, there had to be some cost to John's lifestyle.
So there are things about me too that fit this lifestyle, but certainly there are things that I'm giving up. And obviously the discussion with now, my wife is, fine, you guys want to do this, but what does that mean practically? What does it mean for our financial security? What does it mean for our own family goals? What does it mean for where we're going to live?
And what does it mean for Eddie, his work, and his vision? Even fellows who work in the same offices as their principals have to deal with bureaucracy and communication lapses. So how does John juggle it all?
I actually have 3 phones. I have a personal line, I have a work phone, and then I have a Kenya situation going on the side as well. And at least 2 of them are on at any given point in time. Honestly, at this point, I should just get one of those eSIMs situation where you can have multiple lines on one phone. Hopefully soon.
This is 42nd Street, Port Authority bus terminal. Transfer is available.
I've lived here both as a student and for work. In 2020 for grad school. So I did a short 1-year program at Columbia and then worked in international development at the United Nations for 3 years. So I lived here for several years during that span between grad school and work. It's a weird city, but one that I actually ended up developing a fondness for. I truly do enjoy coming back here. It's the most electric place I've ever lived in. Very diverse. I feel like the universe's energy led me into New York and just expanded my mind in ways that I didn't think possible. And so I'm grateful to have lived here. And I would recommend that anyone who has a chance to should try it out as well.
The reason why we only can take 10 fellows in a year is because we want to move slow in building out this program. We could have taken more. We have the capacity and the ability to take more. But we are intentional about how high touch the program is so that we could do it right.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.